Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name is Hannah and on this channel I post a lot of anti-MLM content. I will link a playlist here and down below. This is my big anti-MLM playlist. We are approaching 100 videos at this point, and I add new videos every single week. So if any of that kind of content does sound interesting to you, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, consider liking this video. All those things really help to support my channel and I appreciate you so much for doing that. For today's video, I'm bringing you MLM horror stories number 27. These are people's true experiences that they have had with MLM companies that they have taken the time to write out and send to me. If at any point you would like to send in your own horror story to me, the instructions for how to do that are in the description box. It's very simple. You just send me an email, and then when I get those emails, I put them into a special folder. And then when I'm sitting down to film the video, I go through and I pick out a few at random and we read them for the first time together. I've picked 7 stories for you today, so let's get into it. This story says, "Hi Hannah, love your content and thought it was time I wrote in. Please keep me anonymous. I teach college students and I don't want them knowing my personal business. I've been around MLMs most of my life, not because of a family member, but because of my mom's friend. She has been in Tupperware, did some sort of purse and jewelry MLM, Beachbody, Mary Kay, Cutco, and her most recent venture is One Hope Wines. Not gonna lie, their wines aren't bad. My mom is constantly supporting her, which usually means buying her junk and then giving it to me and my boyfriend to use at our apartment. You would not believe the amount of Tupperware we own. We even have one that is supposed to cook raw pasta in the microwave, but I digress." Based on that intro, you probably think this story is going to be about my mom's friend, but nope. In fact, when I told my boyfriend I was writing in, he said, "Oh, you're writing about the wine lady?" But he actually didn't know the story I'm about to tell until now. When I was in college, I had a best friend I did everything with. We were basically a package deal. Let's call her Kate. Kate was a bubbly, fun person and a great friend to have. We had known each other since freshman year and even joined the same sorority. We were roommates in the sorority house, and this is where our story begins. One day at our sorority chapter meeting, Kate stood up and announced that she would be hosting a makeup party at the sorority house that week, and that everyone is welcome to come. She said there will be fun games and chances to win prizes. I was confused, especially when Kate said it was for the makeup and wellness company she worked for, and that she had been in it for years. I had only known Kate for about 2 years, and she had never mentioned whatever this job was before. When I asked, she said she worked for her mom, who worked for her aunt, who worked for a company called Arbonne, and that she only did it so her mom could get a quote new title. I had never heard of Arbonne before, so I didn't know it was an MLM, but the whole explanation was weird and confusing to me, so I honestly didn't even make the connection. So translation, I think that your friend was saying that she joined Arbonne so that her mom could rank up. That would be what the new title is all about. One small piece of this story is that I am a MRSA carrier. This sounds weirder than it is, but lots of people are MRSA carriers, meaning that it lives in their ears, nose, and on their face. And they might not even know it. I, however, have horrible flare-ups in my ears and once spent 2 weeks in the hospital with a serious case of mastoiditis due to it. I hope I said that right. I probably didn't. From that time, one of my ears has only 60% hearing. Because of my flare-ups, I spend a lot of time at the hospital as I am allergic to penicillin, and to get the right dose of other antibiotics, they must be through IV. The night before the party, I had a flare-up and spent the night in the emergency room. I will often have to wait a long time unless my fever is incredibly high, and on that night, I was at about 101 and my face wasn't super swollen, so I waited while they dealt with more serious injuries. Kate had actually taken me to the ER, and she sat in the waiting room with me for almost 6 hours until 4 a.m. when she said, "I'm sorry, I have to go home. I need to sleep before the party." I was upset, but I didn't want to beg her to stay. I waited in the ER until 8 a.m. when I was finally admitted. I was discharged around 4 p.m. after receiving the treatment I needed, and I walked back to the sorority house. I just wanted to shower and go to bed, but as I walked in, I was bombarded by Kate's mom and some woman I had never met before, turned out to be her aunt. They pulled me into the living room where maybe about 6 girls who lived in the house were sitting, filling out some sort of bingo card. I told Kate and her mom I wasn't feeling well and that I hadn't slept, so I really just wanted to go upstairs. Kate started saying something to her mom about how I should get sleep, and her mom cut her off and said something like, "Well, what better medicine than fun with friends?" Ew. I'm sorry. I mean, yes, I agree. Spending time with friends, great medicine, okay? But not when you've just spent an entire night in the ER and you could really use a nap, okay? In this situation, I feel like a nap probably outweighs the Arbonne party happening downstairs. I am not a confrontational person, so I sat down and filled out the stupid bingo card. Kate whispered a sorry as she went around sheepishly collecting them while her mom and aunt ran the show. We played different games like bingo, where our card was something to the the effect of different makeup products, and they would say things like, something you put on your lips, and we would mark off lipstick, lip gloss, etc. on the card that we had made. We played another game where we guessed what Arbonne top-selling products were. It's honestly a blur since I was kind of drugged up with a hospital cocktail of who knows what for my pain, so I don't remember all of it. Probably for the best. I did win one of the games somehow, and I won their amazing mascara. That's how Kate's aunt described it as she handed it to me. At the end of the party, Kate's mom announced that if anyone wanted to become a sales rep, to come up to the front of the room to fill out a card. No one was interested. Shocker. Then she tried to shill all the benefits like commission, free trips, a family for life, all the regular BS. No one was interested. As everyone else shuffled out, I helped Kate clean up while her mom and aunt berated her for not inviting more, quote, open people to this party. I honestly got such secondhand embarrassment that this woman and her sister were taking turns scolding their daughter and niece for essentially not bringing them good enough victims. No one had bought anything and no one signed up to be a rep, so they essentially just gave away free product and wasted their time. I mean, hey, to an extent I get it. If you're going through the entire effort of putting on this party, you're hosting it, you're coming up with games, you're giving away free product, you really do expect for it to pay off for you somehow. However, I don't think that that was a very reasonable expectation that a room full of college sorority girls would be in any way interested or in a financial position to sign up for a business opportunity. I mean, yeah, I guess on one hand I get that it's frustrating, but on the other hand, what did you expect? And I mean, your poor friend, how old is she? 18, 19, 20? And all this blame is just being put on her by her relatives for not inviting good enough people who were gonna sign up for the Arbonne sales pitch. Ugh, like, poor girl. Look, I get it. People are desperate out here. People need to rank up. People need to sell stuff and recruit people. But using your daughter and her sorority sisters, like, ugh. Cringy. Fast forward about a week later, I tried the amazing mascara as I was getting ready to go out with a group of friends. It honestly wasn't a bad mascara, but it probably wasn't worth the $40 it was supposedly worth. When getting in the Uber, one of my friends asked what mascara I was wearing, so I told her, oh, I actually won it from Kate's party thing. Kate nodded, it's Arbonne and it's completely vegan. I sell it if you actually want to try it. One friend, Jen, who hadn't been at the party, whipped around from the front seat of the Uber and proclaimed, Kate, you're in a pyramid scheme. Incredible. Incredible. Oh, Jen is my kind of people. Love Jen. Someone asked what that was, and Jen then referred to the regular MLMs we all know. You know, like Amway, Avon, Mary Kay. The best part of this whole interaction is the Uber driver's response, which was, quote, Mary Kay is not a pyramid scheme. I never got confirmation, but I would venture to guess that she was in Mary Kay. Oh, absolutely. She was affiliated with Mary Kay in some capacity. Anyway, Kate kind of shrugged and didn't really seem to care. That's kind of where the Arbonne thing ended. Kate did gift us each some Arbonne makeup products for Christmas here and there. I assume they were bought so she and her mom could meet their PV, but we never had a party and never talked about it. Until about a year after college, Kate and I had a non-Arbonne related falling out. We hadn't spoken in maybe 6 months when I saw an email come through my inbox from her mom. Hey honey, I miss you. I have an amazing opportunity I would love to talk to you about if you want to grab coffee this week. I think you can make an amazing Arbonne sales rep. I literally spat some of the coffee I was drinking on my keyboard. It had been about 3.5 years since the party situation, and I had no memory of ever giving this woman my email ever. So either in a post-hospital days, I wrote it down and she kept it for 3.5 years, or she somehow got it from Kate. I really considered writing back something snarky, but I knew it wasn't worth my time. In the end, I just forwarded the email to Kate saying that if we were no longer friends, her mom no longer had the right to try and poach me for her pyramid scheme. Kate never answered me, and I never heard from her mom again, thank the Lord. Thanks for listening to my dumb ramblings. Your videos are my favorite to listen to when I'm out on a walk or grading papers at home, and they constantly reassure me that I am not the only one to be put in such an awkward situation like this. Keep doing the great work. I love it. I love this story. Amazing. I would love to know where Kate's mom got your email from. It's not uncommon for people to give their contact information at these types of parties, but like you said, even if you did that, she kept it for 3.5 years. And not to mention, she's still with Arbonne 3.5 years later. I feel like that's kind of rare. Of course, it does happen. There are people that stick with their MLM for a long period of time, but I would say the majority of people have these really short stints. 6 months, a year, maybe they're hopping from one MLM to another. But if she's sticking with it for like 3.5, 4 years, then that tells me she must be making some money from it, which means she might be near the top of the company. And now I'm just rambling down this train of thought. But I'm like, okay, if the aunt is up here and then the mom is here and then Kate is down here, presumably the aunt would be benefiting financially off of those relatives. And you even said it in the email, Kate was in the MLM to financially benefit her mom and her aunt. And it's just a really sticky situation that I feel like people get into, because obviously when you join an MLM, the first people you want to pitch to are the people you're comfortable with, the people you know. And on the off chance that they say yes and they do sign up, now it's sort of like this weird power dynamic. Somebody's always going to be on top. There are some companies where you can outrank the people that recruited you, but no matter what, you're never going to truly be equals. Someone's always going to have the upper hand. Someone's always going to be financially benefiting off of the others. And that's one thing if the people on your team are otherwise complete strangers, but it's another thing when they are your family members, aka your mom, your aunt, your niece, your daughter. In fact, I've even heard stories about relatives that are within the same MLM and the person on the top is trying to qualify for some kind of incentive, whether that's a car or a trip, and they need that relative in their downline to be hitting certain recruitment and sales goals for the top person to earn the incentive when the bottom person doesn't get to earn the incentive. And it's things like that that I could imagine have a very deep strain on people's relationships when they decide to get involved with the same MLM on the same team. Anyway, sorry for the tangent, but these are just the things that I think about. There are so many different dynamics that can be shifted or impacted by somebody's decision to get involved with an MLM. And your story outlines lots of those different examples. This one says, "Hi Hannah, I've recently been watching your videos and they sparked a memory from when I was a young teen. I had just graduated high school and was really writing on being free. I decided to move out of my parents' house and into an apartment with some friends. As a young girl, of course, I struggled for some money, working a minimum wage job, pulling rent, paying for groceries, and all the necessities for living. A friend of mine was selling Mary Kay on Facebook and talking all about how amazing the makeup was, and as a makeup fanatic, I was very interested. At this point, I had known nothing about MLMs and what they were, and unfortunately fell right into the trap. She set me up with her upline who was talking about the makeup. At this point, I was only interested in trying some out, but she talked to me about the business and how I can make money alongside using the products. Once she presented me with the product packs, I told her there was absolutely no way I could afford that and that I was struggling as it was with all my bills. She assured me that this was why I needed to work with Mary Kay and talked to me about credit cards. I didn't have any and honestly didn't know what they really even were. She gave me websites for 3 different companies and helped me apply. I got denied for 2 of the 3, which tanked my non-existent credit. Thanks, friend. And the 3rd gave me the very minimum amount, which didn't help me afford the product pack. She somehow successfully convinced me to split the product pack over credit card and cash. Looking back, I feel so stupid for being so naive. In the end, I got the $200 product pack, and when it arrived, I used the makeup and deactivated my account. I wanted nothing to do with these people after realizing what they had done, and now, being older, I am shocked that this was happening and is still happening to young girls. To be honest, the only thing I liked was the mascara, and it wasn't worth me going into debt at a young age. I hope this story helps someone and that this predatory behavior can be stopped." Thank you a million times over for writing this very short but impactful story about how people are convinced to open up credit cards or to max out credit cards or to use credit cards, period, to get involved with an MLM or to be able to afford the starter pack. There's obviously financially responsible and irresponsible ways to use a credit card, and in my opinion, if you don't have the money to buy a starter pack for an MLM, then it's probably a financially irresponsible decision to use a credit card to purchase it. Knowing what we know about MLM business opportunities, that less than 1% of people make any money back. So just looking at it from a statistical standpoint, if you have a less than 1% chance of making the money back that you spent on that credit card, that, in my opinion, is a financially irresponsible decision. However, when it is pitched to somebody, especially young people who are just out on their own, have probably never had a credit card before, don't really know much about how they work, those people are in a more vulnerable position to be convinced that opening a credit card or using a credit card is a good decision because it's framed as investing. Don't worry, just put it on the credit card now. You're going to make double that next week. You'll pay it off. and you're going to move on and you're going to make all this extra money down the road. You just need to invest in it right now. And you know what? That is how investing works, but that's not how MLMs work. That's how people think they work. That's how people pitch that they work. But over 99% of the time, if people were to sit down and do a profit and loss statement detailing what they've spent versus what they've made back, they're going to realize they haven't invested in anything. And it's really disturbing to me that a person's way of overcoming the objection of, oh, I don't have enough money, is for them to suggest, oh, just open a credit card. Just put it on your credit card. That is not in any way a good financial decision for that person to be doing, but it doesn't matter, right? Because it's not about them, it's about you. It's about what's good for you, and what's good for you is to get this recruit. Because what did this do for you? You applied for 3 credit cards, you got denied for 2 of them. The third one didn't even give you enough money to cover the starter pack. It tanked your credit. You didn't even like or care about most of the products, but at the end of the day, you signed up, you got the product pack, and the person who recruited you was the one who benefited the most from that. You used the term predatory to describe this behavior, and I 100% agree. Thank you for sharing this story so that we can give this PSA to not open a credit card to invest in something with over a 99% failure rate. This story is titled Tarnished Friendship Over Shampoo, and I have this sickening feeling that I know exactly where this is going to go. This is going to most likely be a Monet story. Hi, I will try to keep this as brief as possible as I have not been financially and emotionally as affected by MLMs as a lot of your subscribers. Though I do feel my story has some interesting perspective. You can refer to me as Kathy, and I will refer to my friend as Ashley. Let's take it back to freshman year of college, fall of 2013. I was eager to meet new friends and excel in my chosen major. I had and still have a fantastic group of friends going into college, but I was looking for friends who would be going through my same career path. Cue the stereotypical montage music showing young college girls bonding over how their seats happen to be right next to each other in 2 different classes, saying they can't believe they're going to college for the same thing, that they love so much of the same stuff and have similar interests. Instant friendship. I'm assuming you mean between you and Ashley. We often call each other our friend soulmates. She seamlessly fit into my previous high school friend group, and they all loved her just as much. She became my go-to right off the bat. Then, a year and a half later, she tells me she's dropping out of the college we were both going to and moving to Florida to pursue other things. I was truly devastated. The next 4 years were spent taking spring break trips and vacations down to visit her. We remained close, surprisingly. I had never had a long-distance friendship before. Okay, now let's get to the good stuff. After an amazing final spring break in 2017, my senior year, I graduated and started my first job. I would talk to Ashley on the phone once a week and text often. One night while I was at work, she called me. I worked night shift at a hospital, so getting a call at work usually meant something was wrong or someone needed something. I think you know where this is going. She started by saying she bought into this amazing business and that the products have truly changed her life over the past few months. Now, Ashley had never come to me about anything like this before, so I genuinely believed her and wanted to help her out. So she asked if I wanted some products, and I said yes. A few minutes later, I got a long text message about how it would be the smartest for me to become a VIP member because it is the best deal. If a month comes and I don't want to buy anything, she would manually go in and push the order back to the next month. I reluctantly agreed. Then she asked for my credit card information and for it all to be sent over text, and I did it. My mom would be so disappointed if she knew this. My mom is a no-nonsense, anti-scam, and anti-MLM queen. We love that. Which is one of the reasons I think I never got too wrapped up in all of this. One of the strange details I'm noticing is that apparently she called you at night, maybe even the middle of the night if you were on night shift, which I think I'm picking up on because it reinforces the idea that there are no regular business hours when you're in an MLM. And a lot of times I feel like people who are in an MLM tend to not particularly respect traditional business hours, right? They're trying to break away from the 9 to 5. But sometimes I think what that translates into is they're working at all hours of the day. And when quite literally your job is to communicate with other people and sell them something or recruit them, that means that you are roping in other people into these conversations outside of business hours. Which I'm sure for a lot of people on the receiving end of that conversation, it wouldn't be an issue. But for you, someone who works night shift, that is kind of an issue. But the point being that when you are in an MLM, there's kind of this mentality that the grind never stops. You're always working because you can work anytime, any place. You are expected to work anytime, any place. My first box arrived, 2 shampoos, another nonsense product, and a bonus item for almost $100. I tried to make the shampoo happen, but it was never going to happen. I think Regina George said something along those lines. Anyway, she would text me every month and ask if I needed updated products, and I hardly ever said yes. She would also skip the order or push it back, however Monat allowed. Oh, did I forget to mention? This was Monat. I just assumed. This went on for a few months until I randomly got a box at my apartment. I called her and she said she was not sure what happened, but I could send it back to the company and they will credit my account for the next month. Now, why would I go through the trouble? Ashley said I could send them to her and she would just pay me for them. I said no, I would just keep them because I was still using the shampoo at the time and I did not mind the dry shampoo. This left a slightly bad taste in my mouth, but I let it go. So I want to intervene for a quick second to describe the VIP program in Monat. It's very often pitched to people exactly as you said, that this is the best deal you're going to get on the products, that's why you should sign up for it. But what it is an auto ship program. They call it a flex ship program because you do have the ability to push back your orders if you want to, but if you forget to, it shows up on your doorstep anyway. It is an auto ship program. You have to pay a $20 fee to join, and by doing that, you are committing yourself to at least 3 shipments of at least $84 each. So 3 separate times you have to create this bundle worth at least $84, and they ship it to you month after month after month unless you choose to push it back. Some of the perks to being a VIP customer is that you get a discount, you get free shipping, you get access to their weekly flash sales, but the flash sales don't count towards your flex ship, and you get little freebies here and there too. So if you're going to enter into this VIP program, you are committing yourself to spending at least $272 on Monat products. So the reps will tell people up front, like, this is the best deal, look at all these great perks, but a lot of times, and I'm not sure how the story ends, but a lot of times the market partner does not fully explain to the customer the terms of the VIP agreement and the fact that you are committing yourself to an auto ship. And I get so many horror stories of people being like, I had no idea I was getting signed up for this thing. I did not want to be a part of it. I just joined because they told me at the time that I was going to get a discount and I wanted the discount. Fast forward to New Year's Eve of 2019. I'd been pushing back my VIP shipments most months. So according to your timeline, you've been pushing these back for like a year and a half. That is crazy. And yeah, if you want to keep pushing it back, you don't have to pay for it. But just think of like that monthly annoyance that you have to deal with just to remember to push it off. Also ignoring the generic texts from my friend, which were no longer anything other than that for over a year now. She came home to celebrate the new year. All of my friends and I went out for the night and she spent the whole pregame hyping up the business, how she is close to qualifying for a car, which she never did, and her income to my friends. By the end of the night, my one friend Maggie was sold. She not only became a VIP, but she bought into the business. Thankfully, she did not last long and sent us screenshots of all the boss babe texts and formulated messages she was supposed to send out. I could not help but feel guilty that she spent money because I brought Ashley into the friend group. Mine and Ashley's texts became few and far between with the occasional, how's everything, what's been up, every now and again. This truly made me sad, but she did not seem to want to discuss anything other than Monat. That's because when you join an MLM, it consumes your entire life. And if it doesn't, then you're shamed for not working hard enough. The final straw for me came in June of 2019. My family and I were on a weekend away in a cabin area without much service. If we were not in our cabin, I would go hours on end without service. After a day out hiking, ziplining, and fun, I came home to a paragraph. It was Ashley explaining that she forgot to skip the orders this month and she is so sorry, so my account is going to be charged $140. I lost it. At that point, I just bought a car, I paid off some big bills, I had a new apartment and just got back from a bachelorette party in Nashville. Money was a little tight, but I was not super concerned because I had a savings. I planned for situations like these, so I knew I would be back fine financially soon. Until this money would have overdrafted my account since I was not getting paid for 2 more days. I also did not account for this money to be taken out. I immediately texted her, told her all this, and said this was unacceptable. So the way you're phrasing this, now I'm wondering, was she in charge of pushing back your flex ship orders? I guess I was under the assumption that the person who was signed up for the VIP program was in charge of pushing it back, and I think you are, but it sounds like in this case, maybe she had taken that responsibility on for you. She did send me the money right away on Venmo. I just had to send her the products when they arrived. This took a while and shipping was expensive, but I was ready to be done. After this, contact was essentially non-existent. I changed my credit card so they no longer had one on file file for me and could not charge me. She called me a few months later saying she was quitting Monat, and if I wanted to keep getting the products, then she could sign me up under her friend. She also said that if I wanted to stop getting the products, I had to call the 1-800 number myself, so that's what I did. The lady on the phone asked me all the classic questions on why I would not be ordering anymore, and I told her my real thoughts on the matter. She apologized and then tried to tell me I had to pay an exit fee because I did not reach the appropriate amount of orders before exiting. Yeah, so if you only complete 1 out of the 3 auto shipments, then you have to pay, I believe it's a $25 fee, and if you complete 2 out of the 3, then you have to pay a $20 fee in order to get out of this agreement so you can stop pushing back your flex ships. Then she asked for my credit card. I informed her I was never told this by my rep and I would absolutely not be giving them my credit card. I think she could tell by my voice that she was not getting further with me. Hey Zeke. The rep said, okay, since you were not aware of the rules, I'll waive this one time for you, as if she was doing me a favor. This is fortunately the end of my personal Monat story, but I get sad anytime I think of it. I truly felt like Ashley was a once-in-a-lifetime friend. Now we send the occasional text asking about each other's lives. I'm getting married this year and always thought she would be one of my bridesmaids. She's not, but I did invite her to the wedding. Thank you for all you do. I'm sorry if this is long, but there are a lot of extremes on this channel and I thought a more mild story would be a different perspective. Also showing that there are a lot more people like me who lost some money, but not life-ruining money. I did unfortunately lose what once was a great friendship. So yeah, I mean, I think that your story, although it's not like horrendously horrific or anything like that, I think that this reflects an experience that a lot of people can relate to as far as getting involved in one way or another with something that they didn't fully have all the details on. And because of that, they spend a lot more money than they otherwise would on things that they may not otherwise have purchased. And I think your story reflects another common experience of losing a relationship as a result of one of the people being in an MLM. These companies have a really interesting way of making a person feel like all of their relationships are now transactional. And just as it happened here, it starts out with, hey, would you like to try some hair care? Would you like to support my small business? And then you say, yeah, sure, sign me up. I would love to support you. And then you get trapped into something you didn't necessarily want to be a part of. And now it seems like all of the interactions between you and that person have to do with this new business that they've decided to join. But the last thing I want to touch on for your story, and perhaps the most important piece of information that I can give you right here, is that it has been alleged to me through stories like this on more than one occasion and through people messaging me on Instagram that if you are somebody who has found yourself trapped in the Monat VIP program, all you have to do is call customer service and say, hey, I was not informed about the terms of this agreement. I did not know what I was getting myself involved in. My market partner did not tell me. And through every account that has been alleged to me, this has worked. This has been a valid excuse for the customer service rep to just waive your cancellation fee and let you off the hook. So do with that information what you will. Thank you for sending in this story. I think a lot of people can relate to it. This story says, hi Hannah, I'm a new subscriber and love your channel. Your voice is very soothing for my anxiety and I adore seeing your kitties. I forgot to say my name is Ashlyn. You can use my name. I hope I'm pronouncing that right as well. Please forgive me if I'm not. So my story isn't as horror-ish as other people's, but I wanted to share. I have this very good friend named Betsy, we'll call her. She's the sweetest, most precious piece of pie. However, she really loves her CBD oil. I am a recovering heroin addict and I remember being at her home and going through withdrawals, and she kept saying how much her CBD would help. It didn't. I never thought about it much, I just thought she loved CBD. Fast forward 2 years later, the absolute love of my life passed away from an OD. I'm so sorry to hear that. It's been 3 years and I miss him dearly. We were attached at the hip for almost 5 years. So we had a celebration of life to celebrate his beautiful soul and I invited Betsy for support. We shared stories about my love, good and bad stories, and Betsy kept saying he needed CBD oil or, quote, he should have taken CBD. I think that would have helped him get off of the drugs. I was mortified. She was going up to his mother's very close friends and talking about how he should have had this CBD liquid. She never actually said that he'd still be here if he would have taken CBD, but it was insinuated. She talked about it the entire time she was there. Anyway, I don't know what this liquid was called and I can't even say 100% that it was an MLM. I'm only 99.9% sure. But what makes me believe it was from an MLM was the outrageous price of this liquid. And she kept saying, here's the link. If you buy it, I will get X amount off of my next purchase. And when I said, okay, I'll look into it, she would say, well, you could send me the money and I'll just buy it for you. It was like $70 a bottle. The way she spoke about it, the price, the weird link, link, it makes me believe that it was an MLM. I guess I can't say for sure, so I'll feel bad if that's not the case, but I'm very confident. I can feel it in my gut. Again, she's sweet as pie, but it was so upsetting watching her push this shoulda, woulda, coulda lived if he drank this CBD type of situation. I've never shared this story because I had forgotten about it through the grieving process. Thanks for listening. Ugh, I just hate when this stuff happens. It's unacceptable. There's no excuse for that. And honestly, MLM or not, there are CBD MLMs that does exist, so it definitely could be a possibility. But regardless, there's a right time and place to pitch something that you're trying to sell, and somebody's memorial service who passed away in a pretty tragic fashion is not it. It's infuriating to me. Get out of here with the shoulda, coulda, woulda statements about, oh, if he only tried my magical miracle cure, we wouldn't be here today. That is morbid. That is disgusting. And not to mention just horrendously inappropriate and insensitive. And I know you said you're not 100% sure if this was an MLM company, but based on the stories I've read, this is pretty on par with MLM Hun behavior. I would not put it past somebody in an MLM to take somebody's memorial service as an opportunity to pitch something. I just want you to know that that was completely unacceptable, uncalled for, undeserved. And now I'm reading back and I'm noticing that you're saying she is one of your very good friends. And so I'm hoping that this doesn't come off too harsh. I think it's just really important to recognize that somebody can be, quote, sweet as pie, a kind person, a loving person, a generous person, and they can still have inappropriate behavior. And as it relates to MLMs, a lot of this type of behavior stems from the fact that people are just doing what they feel they have to do. Not necessarily what they want to do, not necessarily what they would do otherwise, but they are taught, they are trained to look at every situation as an opportunity to pitch something. And this type of behavior within these MLM companies can be explained by undue influence. And this is when somebody acts in a particular way that they wouldn't otherwise act if they did not have this influence of the MLM over them. And I think that really does explain how someone can be a good person at heart, but they still make these poor judgments and poor decisions to promote their business in inappropriate contexts. So I hope that I'm not coming off too harsh on someone who appears to be a close friend of yours still. I just want you to know that I'm really sorry for your loss, and I also want you to know that this one behavior within this one context was not appropriate, and you did not deserve to have to deal with that within this really difficult time in your life. This story says, "Hi Hannah, I just wanted to say how much I love your channel and your content. My MLM story dates back to 2002 and involves my great aunt and uncle. My husband and I had been married for about a year when we got a call from my great aunt and uncle. I had lost my dad the previous year, so I thought they were reaching out to me in support. We didn't have a close relationship, and I felt excited that they wanted to come over to our house and visit. I'm sure you can guess where this is going." Well, yes, considering that it's titled MLM Horror Story, I can only imagine they're in an MLM and they're going to try and recruit you. Probably. Yep, they came over to pitch their MLM company on us. I don't remember exactly what the company was, but it may have very well been Amway, but I'm not positive. They tried to convince us that we could buy all of our household products and beauty products through them and we'd save so much money. They said, quote, "These are already products you're buying at the store, but you could save so much more." Then it all came out. They started talking about becoming a member. I'm going to give my 2 cents. This absolutely does sound like Amway. Reason number 1 is that Amway reps very, very often will pitch it exactly like this. "Oh, we sell everything. We sell toilet paper and toothpaste and grocery items. And these are all things you're buying anyway." And then reason number 2 that this is probably Amway is that it's a big thing in that company to have couples that are in business together. They specifically prey on married couples to join the business opportunity as a unit. And in my opinion, this is a very insidious way that they come between relationships, that they ruin marriages, because a lot of times one of those 2 people will be more invested than the other. So when one of the partners inevitably is like, "I don't know, this is kind of sketchy, I kind of don't want to be a part of this anymore," there is a chance that the other partner does not agree. And they've drank more of the Kool-Aid, they're ignoring more of the red flags. The company has sunk their claws deeper into this partner than this partner. And that can destroy relationships. And again, in my opinion, I feel like they try to recruit couples so that at least one of the people is kind of like the built-in reinforcement person. So when one of the people starts to slip, starts to feel like they want to leave the company, then the other person can be there to counteract that, to convince them otherwise, and to pull them back into the company. In conclusion, Amway is the worst, and they come between marriages, allegedly, in my opinion. They started asking us how many of our friends would be interested in this opportunity, and when we stated that we didn't know anyone, they whipped out a piece of paper. They asked us to write down 10 of our friends and their phone numbers. I laughed and said, I don't have 10 friends. But they had a solution for everything. Just give us the names and numbers of your coworkers. And that's when I drew the line. Absolutely not. I told them that I'm not a salesperson and I don't like approaching people, and they promised they would teach me. Apparently, they stop at nothing and even ask the servers in the restaurants they visit. Eventually, they did leave when we refused to give up any names. As they were leaving, they made sure to tell us what we were missing out on, and my aunt said in the most hateful way, "There is more to life than sitting at home with your dogs." I laughed as I closed the door. My dogs are my babies, and they have no idea what my life was about or if I even sat at home, because they knew nothing about me or my life. We never did hear from them again, and we would just exchange hellos at family gatherings. Years later, I did find out that they were both working 2 jobs to get out of the debt they were in from the MLM and their medical transcription business. And guess what? I might have been sitting at home with my dogs, but that's because I didn't have to work 2 jobs to get out of MLM debt. It's sad, actually, that after losing their nephew, my dad, the only time they showed any interest in me was when they wanted something. It just shows you that family will even prey on you. Thank you, Hannah, for everything you do. Your channel is amazing and you are doing a fabulous job, and I love that your cats are in your videos too. Thank you. Obviously, I think the biggest thing to highlight with your story is just that when you're in an MLM, everything is transactional. Everyone is seen as a dollar sign. Everyone is looked at as an opportunity for you to make money. I feel like a broken record with that. I feel like I talk about that so much on my channel, but your story is the perfect example of how that really is true. They show up out of nowhere. They don't even really know you that well. They pitch you this opportunity, and then when you say no, there's this like awkward backhanded comment on the way out the door, and then they never have any excuse to talk to you ever again. Why? Because they saw your relationship as transactional. When they realized they couldn't capitalize on that, they have nothing to do with you anymore. And that sucks. That is sad. And look, I'm not saying you have to be super close with every single one of your family members, but don't pretend to care about people when you know that they can benefit you financially, and then you just toss them to the side when you realize that you can't actually take advantage of that relationship. It's really unfortunate, and I'm sorry that that happened here. It's my hope for your great aunt and uncle that they can get out of this debt and they can move on from Amway. This next story says, "Dear Hannah, I had a recent encounter with a Hun that left my jaw on the ground. I am lucky I come from an anti-MLM family. We weren't outspoken advocates like you, but anytime my mom encountered Avon, Amway, or Mary Kay Huns, she always gave a polite, simple, and firm no thank you. My parents were financially savvy in a way that I admire. I love that, saying no or no thank you. That can and should be the end of it. You do not owe anybody an explanation as to why you don't want to join their MLM. Just being polite and saying no thank you is more than enough. I've had a rough time lately. My wife passed unexpectedly last year and my world was rocked. It doesn't matter for the story, but for the sake of clarity, we are a same-sex couple. I also have had lifelong mental health struggles, which have obviously been worse in her absence. My heart really does go out to you. I can't even begin to imagine how difficult that must be. I'm so sorry, and I'm thinking of you. I was very lucky during the past year to find a hospital with an intensive outpatient program. It's an amazing level of care that allowed me to live at home, but get daily support with classes in mindfulness, assertiveness, group therapy, and recreation. It was an amazing resource for anyone who needs that level of support, and in my opinion should be more available in the community. Absolutely, that sounds incredible. I have a neighbor, Bev, who was friendly after my wife died, but we are not close. I knew she was a Sensi Hun because she always found a way to drop the subject in any interaction. If I complimented her spring flowers, or her top, or honest to God, her Christmas lights. She had a wax warmer on her patio and made me come and smell a very generically cinnamon stick scented wax that I politely smelled as I noticed the cord for the warmer was literally in the snow. I was trying to increase my social connections, so I tried to be as outgoing as I could. She asked where I would go each day as she knew that I was on disability. I made the mistake of telling Bev about the program. Her eyes grew large at the thought of this room of potential victims. She sold me hard on all the MLM greatest hits. I had seen a John Oliver episode about MLMs and had a basic understanding of the business model. YouTube YouTube sent me one of your videos after I had watched his, and now I'm hooked. You are amazing. I love that John Oliver episode. I'm gonna link it in the description if anybody hasn't seen it. You need to see it. And that was one of my first introductions to MLM content too. He was really one of the first people that spoke out publicly on why these things are bad and did a very good job detailing a lot of the things that I talk about on this channel. Highly recommend that you see that if you haven't yet. I tried to shut her down with the simple finality my mother uses, but she dug her claws in harder. I told her I need time to think as I was learning to be less impulsive. She wanted me to sign up that day for some reason, and looking back, it was the last week of December and maybe she was trying to hit a rank or something. I 100% think that's the case. If any MLM rep is going in really hard on you at the end of the month and they're really pressuring you to take action right now, it is most likely because they have some kind of goal that they're trying to hit by the end of the month. The last straw came when she said it would be easy for me to recruit the people in my mental health program because they are often eager and ready for new opportunities to succeed. That was the last straw that broke me. I felt that she had just said I should prey on people who are already struggling with the same difficulty I have. I also felt that her super eager pitch about how exciting the opportunity was directly targeted with the impulsivity my mental health struggles challenged me with. The high pressure pitch, the promises of wealth, toxic positivity, my angry tears just burst out without my permission. I told her that I nor my peers in the program would be her victims. I'm not proud that I ranted a little too, but she had crossed a line. Preying on people with mental illness is reprehensible, and I doubt Bev is alone in these tactics. I'm still grieving and working on my mental health. I am grateful my parents led by example and that you and other media figures are spreading the message that these companies and many of the people they directly train are predators. As a palate cleanser after my sad story, can we get a reaction video to Schitt's Creek Season 1, Episode 8? Sure, let's do it. I'm not going to play the episode or anything, but the premise of the TV show Schitt's Creek, it's on Netflix if you want to see it, is this very wealthy family is all of a sudden really down on their luck. They move to this really tiny, seemingly crappy little town, and now the family is all living together in a motel trying to get back on their feet. So Season 1, Episode 8 is all about how an old friend of the family sends them this starter kit for the company le-vel, which is like an MLM pyramid scheme, door-to-door sales cosmetics company. And the entire episode is basically just making a mockery of how people are wooed into these MLM pyramid scheme things with the promises of like wealth and riches, and you can be a millionaire with just a starter kit. And so they think it's going to be their key to like get back on their feet and have financial success again. It's so good. They like recruit everybody in the town. That episode is so funny. And the entire time it just makes fun of MLM companies. You need to see it if you haven't. But back to your story, I just want to say thank you for sending this one in. And especially I want to thank you for how you highlight how people who struggle with their mental health are particularly vulnerable to these kinds of things. And although it's disturbing, it's not surprising that this woman kind of had her eyes light up at the idea of having this whole group of people in a mental health program to potentially pitch to and capitalize on. I love to hear that you did stand up for yourself in that moment though. Thank you for sharing this story. This story says, "Hi Hannah, I love watching your videos just to get a kick out of hearing about these MLMs. My stories aren't considered horror stories, but they're pretty entertaining. I would like to stay anonymous. The first story is when I was fresh out of high school, I was dating this guy who had a very motivational personality. We dated for a while when one day he invited me to hear this motivational speaker. I'm all for bettering myself and taking in advice. Well, my first red flag should have been that this motivational speaker's speech would take place in the basement of one of his buddies' parents' houses. Anywho, the guy comes in and starts speaking about life, how we should want to work for ourselves, how we should thrive to have an entrepreneurial mindset, etc., etc. Then he pulls out these energy drinks, I don't remember the brand, that looks like a knockoff Gatorade and starts telling us where his life was before he joined the company, which sounded depressing to say the least, and how after joining this company his life changed for the better, how much joy and happiness it has brought to him, all this free time he has, how he works when he wants, where he wants, and however many hours he wants. My innocent brain at the time thought it sounded amazing. Then he told us about the level he was at within the business and how we could achieve that level if we signed up under him and he would be our personal mentor. He told us how much starting income could be if we focused on a certain amount of hours of work for the week, and that he was certain we all had friends and family that would benefit from this drink, and how many electrolytes the drink had and that it was sugar-free and better than Gatorade. Then he had us write down 10 friends friends and family names and phone numbers that we felt most comfortable speaking to about the product, and to make it our goal to sell to them first, and from there our business would flourish. Let me tell you, the motivational speaking part of the pitch can get you, and he was honestly very good at it. He tried to get me to sign up there and then. I think it was something like $60, but me, being fresh out of high school, I had just started to work. Thank goodness I didn't have the money for it, because I could have gotten sucked in. After that, the guy I was dating asked me about it one more time, and I told him I was not interested. Luckily, he never mentioned it to me again, but since, quote, our mindsets weren't going in the same direction, needless to say, we stopped dating. Oh no. My second story, good old Mary Kay. Personally, I used to buy Mary Kay products because I genuinely liked their products. Then the sucking me in happened and I fell for it. So my old boss used to sell the products very casually, not trying to recruit anybody. One day she told me that there was going to be a fun, women-only Mary Kay free makeover and spa day. I thought to myself, I like their products, it's free and fun, sure, I'll go. I took my cousin with me. It started fun. We all showed up barefaced, we did facials, then makeup products, full self-done makeover with the products. Side note, the location we went to was an actual small cute rental location in an office building. It was a full-blown office with its own small kitchen area, office space, meeting space. It was nice. Who did it belong to? The lady that was above my boss, and she had the well-known Mary Kay pink Cadillac. So it was impressive that she was at that level of success within the company. Anywho, then came the pitch. She told us her story of how she started with nothing, being a stay-at-home mom, depressed, feeling like her life was going nowhere, until she found Mary Kay. I mean, that's basically the story of every single person in an MLM. Some slight variation of this, of how your life sucked so bad before and now it's so perfect and wonderful now. And in a lot of cases, people are told to either make up or highly exaggerate their before and after rags to riches type story, because that's the thing that people connect to, and that's how you get a lot of people in. If you can communicate to somebody the vast difference in your quality of life before and after you join this business opportunity, that's the piece that a lot of people are going to fall for. Long story short, she worked her way up to be able to rent out an office space, have a couple self-made employees in her office, and her own pink Cadillac. So after all was said and done, they pulled out the little magazines for any of us who wanted to order any of the products we used. Also had products on hand for us to buy. Well, that's not the juicy part. So she's pitching Mary Kay to me, asking about my personal life. Mind you, at that point in time, I was very self-conscious about my looks. I didn't feel pretty. I was feeling down emotionally. So she tells me in a soft, caring voice, "You don't feel worthy, do you?" Oh my God, how manipulative is that? Because it's not like the intention is good behind it. It's not like it's coming from a loving friend or family member. This is coming from someone who's trying to sell you something, and that feels so gross and manipulative to me. Because I was vulnerable, I started to cry, thinking she actually cared. I started to tell her how I was feeling, what I was going through. She told me I needed to take control of my life and know my worth and what I deserved. Then she slid in the Mary Kay lifestyle pitch that I would be able to have time for myself and to work on myself, and I fell for it. I ended up spending $100 on a package deal, which was a bag filled with makeup and skin products that I would then sell to others to make my money back plus some. While I was there, I felt so good about it. Once I left and was able to sit on what just happened, I felt so finessed and used and taken advantage of, being the state I was in. Needless to say, I ended up ghosting her. I took my L on those $100 and passed out all the products to my family for free. Lesson learned, never again did I fall for an MLM. What I want to point out here is that there is a level of impulsiveness that is encouraged when somebody's pitching you to join an MLM. They're going to push you hard, they're going to pry, they're going to use some kind of manipulation tactic. In this case, it was emotional manipulation. They're going to break you down a couple pegs and then they're going to build you back up with what they believe is the solution, their MLM business opportunity. And it's this perfect storm for people to make this kind of impulsive snap decision to join. And so I urge you, if you are in these situations, please remember it's very easy to be manipulated. Whether or not you believe, oh, I'm too smart for that, that'll never happen to me, okay, it happens to the best of us. So my advice to you is that if you do feel yourself kind of succumbing to some kind of manipulation and you're feeling like you might just want to jump into it, give it a day, give it 24 hours. Remove yourself from the situation, give it some critical thought, talk to your family and friends about it. Put some space and time between between that manipulation and your decision. Personally, I believe a lot less people would get involved with MLMs if they took a step back and did not succumb to the pressure that MLM rep is putting on you in the moment. The third story, short and to the point, not my personal story, but it happened to my best friend. We have a friend in common from when we were in high school. The story also happened in our early 20s. So we used to always see on his social media that he is selling and promoting the XS energy drinks. So we're talking about this common friend that you had from high school who is selling something called XS energy. I actually had to look that up because I'd never heard of it before, but that's the name of the company. The name of the company is XS energy. We think nothing of it really. We know it's an MLM. Fast forward, my friend had her first baby. Our friend in common asked to come to the hospital to see the baby. We were really good friends in high school, so it wasn't strange by any means. So my friend tells me he was at the hospital talking to her and her husband about life, what they've been up to, and about the baby. Then he started his pitch there in the hospital the day after she gave birth. He was trying to sell them on the product and how it would be a great investment and great income benefit now that they're starting a family. I couldn't believe what she was telling me. I was honestly shocked and disgusted that he would do that. The boldness of him. Honestly, we secretly made fun of him because he was promoting success, money, and these awesome trips he was taking. But lo and behold, we found out he was working at Ross to make ends meet. This was in our early 20s. We are now 30 years old and he still promotes it. It's funny because he takes videos of the products on his back porch with a mansion home in the background, clearly making it look like he lives in a home that screams success, which he doesn't. I used to hang out at his house when we were younger, so I know where he lives, and he still lives at home with his parents. But he doesn't show that part on social media. I'm not trying by any means to knock where he lives or his living situation, but don't promote success to lure people in while you have no success yourself. Well, those are my MLM stories. I hope they were of entertainment. Now that I'm older, I can look back and laugh at the situations I put myself in. It's just sad to see people use other people's vulnerabilities against them for their own benefit. Wow, yeah. I mean, I want to reiterate what you already said, that the purpose here is not to make fun of somebody's living situation, make fun of where they work, anything like that. The issue lies within promoting one lifestyle that you don't actually live. Look, if you work at Ross and you live at home with your parents, fine, but don't be deceptive and make it seem like you're living in a mansion and that you have all this wealth and success. And unfortunately, this is kind of the territory that we're entering into in this day and age where social media is intertwining with MLMs, because it's really easy to fake a lifestyle that you don't have. And what that turns into is extremely deceptive earnings and lifestyle claims on the part of these MLM reps, making it appear on social media like they are living one way as a result of this opportunity, when in reality, that is not at all what's really going on. But to the viewer on the other side of that screen, it's really hard to decipher. For example, a person can post that they're going on this free vacation from their company, when in reality, they had to work for several months and hit all these requirements and manipulate a whole lot of people to be able to earn that trip, and then they go on that trip and it's actually not fully paid for. Or if a person posts a photo of their free car, when in actuality, it's not free and they haven't hit the requirements in months and months to be able to have their MLM company give them their car allowance. With social media now, it is so unbelievably easy to just lie, just completely lie about what your MLM is giving you, because no one knows the difference unless they know you in real life. And then the last thing we have to talk about for this email is the fact that this guy pitched a woman the day after she had a baby. I cannot deal with that. That is so unacceptable. Does he not realize the life-altering event that just occurred? Does he have no consideration for the fact that she's probably tired, a little overwhelmed, probably not feeling her best, and that it's not an appropriate time to ask her if she would like to join your energy drink MLM? I just can't deal with that. I can't deal with the inconsideration of others, just in general, okay? If you're gonna go visit a woman in the hospital the day after she gives birth, it is a requirement on your part that you enter that room with the most positive, selfless, thoughtful, ray of sunshine attitude, and that you leave your selfish objectives at the door, okay? No MLM pitches in my hospital room. No ma'am, see yourself to the door. And with that, my friends, that's all of the horror stories that I have for you for this video. Thank you to everybody who sent in their story. And again, if you would like to send in your own, the instructions for how to do that are down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you in my next one real soon.